All right, let's see if I can make this video about writing equations of lines from different pieces of information. So first I'm just going to do writing equations from graphs. So somebody gives me this picture and they say, write me an equation that made that picture. So graph doesn't mean make the picture. The graph in this case means I gave you a picture. You make me the equation that if I put that equation into Desmos, it will recreate that line. That's our goal, right? So my first instinct, my first thought process is, how do I choose which format? Because depending on the format I'm picking, I'm gonna need different information. So my first instinct should be like, okay, can I write this in slope-intercept form? That's my always my go-to. So in order to write slope-intercept, I better be able to figure out the slope, or someone better tell me, or I better be able to find the intercept. So I always start with the intercept. I begin in the back here. So do I see an intercept that's clear? Do I know this for certain? So the intercept that we're talking about here is the y-intercept, which means I find it on the y-axis. So I go to the y-axis, which is this one, and I have to see, does the line that I was given cross here in a nice, easily distinguishable point? And it does. It's right there. So that number looks like 1, 2, 3. It's all the way at the top. So the y-intercept is 3. Awesome. If I know that intercept, then I can write it in slope-intercept form. If I don't know that intercept, which I'll show you an example of that in a second, I can't do that format. So now all I need is the slope, and I get that by picking 2 points on here. So that looks like a nice point. I'm going to pick that one, and I don't know, this one looks pretty decent too. So my slope is my directions from dot to dot. So if we figure out how do I get from that 3, that intercept, it looks like I went down 1, so -1, and I went over 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 to the right is a +4. So the slope is the height of the triangle divided by the width of the triangle, or rise over run, or the rate of change from the height compared to the rate of change of the width, however you want to say it. So always the height, always divided by the width. It's always like that. So we've got our slope, we've got our intercept, so now I can write it in slope-intercept form. All equations always begin with y. In slope-intercept form, I go straight to the equal sign. No matter which format, the slope always goes after the equal sign. If I was in point slope, I would need parentheses, but I'm in slope-intercept, so I don't need parentheses, I need just the x. And the intercept is +3, and it's as straightforward as that. Replace the slope in front of the x, and place the intercept behind the x. And that's pretty much it. So if you've got the b value, you should write it in slope-intercept. If you don't have a b value, something like this, same exact question. I gave you the equation of the line, you've got to write it, you've got to write the equation. So again, my first instinct is to write it in slope-intercept. That's easier, it's got less stuff in it. So I should know what the intercept is, and I should know what the slope is. And if I can't figure that out, I shouldn't write it in this format. So my first, again, I'm always going to go to the y-intercept, and I'm always going to see, does my line cross the y-axis in a really obvious point? So that's where that cross is. The problem is I do not know that number. This is 1, this is 2. What number is this? Is it 1.5? I don't know, that looks like more here. Is that 1.75? Is that 1.7? I don't know that. And if I don't know that, then I cannot write it in this format, because slope-intercept form requires me to know the intercept. If I don't have the intercept, I can't write it in that format. So instead, I'm going to write it in point-slope form. All right? So in order to write point-slope form, I need a point and I need a slope. So I'm going to pick 2 points on there. I don't know which ones look good. This one looks pretty nice, and this one looks pretty nice. So I'm just going to go with that. Okay, so the location of that point is 1, 2. Its x is 1, and its y value is 2. Always alphabetical, x, then y. So the point that I'm picking is 1, 2. It looks pretty convenient. And now I'm going to find the slope. The slope is how you get from dot to dot, and I'm just going to draw a triangle. So to get from the top blue dot, I would have to go down 1, And then I'm going to go to the side 3, but I'm going to the left 3, so that's negative. So the slope is -1 divided by -3. Always the height, always the width, height on top, width on bottom. There's your little slope triangle from here to here. And 2 negatives make a positive, so it doesn't actually matter if you write that or if you write that. -1 divided by -3 is the same thing as 1 divided by 3 because 2 negatives make a positive, so I don't care which one you would write. I'm going to pick this one just because it's easier, but there's nothing wrong with writing that one. And then I'm going to write it in my point slope format. Now that I've picked a point on the line, now that I know the slope of the line, I can just go straight to the format and write the equation. All equations always begin with y. In point slope, we pair it with the y. So this is the x, this is the y. In point slope form, you have to start with the point, and you're starting with the y value of the point. Again, this is the x point, that's the y point, and there's always a sign change. So y goes with y, change the sign. After the y has a pair, I'm going to write an equal sign. It's driving me crazy that this thing is here. All right. After the equal sign is always a slope. Again, you can use -1 divided by -3 or the positive version. In point slope, we have a parenthesis x, and then the x matches with the x from the point. So that 1 from x has to go here, but when we put it in there, it's going to change signs. So I'm going to switch the sign, and there's your equation. The x is matched with the x. The y is paired with the y, and the slope is again still in front of the x as it always is. So the secret to writing point slope form is you need the point and you need a slope. The point goes with the x's and the y's, and the slope goes in front, in between the equal sign and the x if you want to be really specific. Okay? I hope that helps.